Hey, in this video I'm going to attempt to make this photograph which I took from my window yesterday. I'm going to try and make it look like a Ghibli style. Kind of a little challenge. It's quite a good shot, there's some good variation in textures and colour. I don't want to crop it too much or at all. I think I quite like all the different features. So I'm just going to ride with what I've done here, and I'm just going to kind of wing this. I'm not going to do much painting because it already has a kind of good vibe to it, but I want to show you just a few things that you could do to an image like this. So I'm just going to copy the layer and Control L to levels adjust. That's kind of like a one-off levels adjust. Now if you want it to be an adjustment layer, just go here and choose levels, and that way you can always come back and control it. Right, so I'm going to kind of bring this range of tones up a bit, and you get a little bit more saturation out of this when you do the levels adjust. Somewhere here is good, right? So now that that's done, I can then, I'll put this in a folder, right, just to show the process, and then I'm just going to copy the folder and merge it, so I've got this new image. So every step is kind of recorded. So now that I've done that, I want to go to filter and filter gallery, and I'm going to look for something called like paint daubs, perhaps. So that is under artistic paint daubs. Now it is a little bit too daubish. I'm going to put that sharpness all the way down, change the brush size. You can see that brush size really affects things. So just want to bring it up a little bit more. Yeah, that should kind of do it, and then OK with that. Right, so I've done some of that process to it. I'm just going to copy it again, and I'm going to go to filter, other oil paint, filter stylize oil paint, and just have a look at the little cat here just to try and get the best result. And I'll bring that stylization up a bit and the cleanliness up a bit more, and the other two I'll just leave those, and then OK, and we get a little bit more of a painted effect from that. So it's getting closer. These leaves look quite nice. This is all just a bit detailed. So another thing you can do is copy that and go to filter blur and try let's see, not Gaussian blur, smart blur. And what that's going to do, it's going to try and eliminate some of the colors. Now this might not do what you want it to do, but it might alleviate some of the noise, and I kind of want to get rid of some noise on this surface. The good thing about this workflow anyway is that you can always do a bit and mask it, so that looks quite good, right? But it doesn't look good for the cat, it's a bit too much. Right, so I'll let that process go through, and it's just kind of taken away too much detail there maybe. So I'll just click on the mask, and then I can select, I'll do a lasso select, and I'll just get most of that. It's really just for this top concrete part. I don't want it to be as detailed so that the cat kind of catches your eye, but I can see a kind of toonish effect starting to appear. Right, I'll just try and get most of that there, and I'll just invert the mask, right? But I've got the opposite of what I need, so I'll just deselect, click on the mask and Control I, and now I've got the detail back elsewhere. And the cool thing about this is I can duplicate that layer and then just delete the mask and don't apply it, and now I can see the difference, right? And I can get rid of that one as well to see. And with that in mind, I can now sort of play with the opacity, because maybe I want just a bit of detail through it. I think that's more or less doing the same as that one. Yeah, I'll just get rid of that one now. Yeah, so that's taking away a bit of the detail from that surface there. Cool, so that's all done. I'm going to put all that in a folder and then duplicate the folder and merge the group. So that way I've always got the steps that I take that if I wanted to go back. It's got a kind of painterly look to it now, but it's just the color range isn't great. So what I want to do now is to use a gradient map. So a gradient map is going to take the grayscale of the image and then map it to, like as you can see, we've got a negative effect there. It's going to map it to this gradient, and I want some of these leaves to be more bluish. I'm going to go for this really vibrant blue, right? And I think what I can do is I can make opacity here, right? And I don't think that's working, but I was hoping that would make it fade. But what I can also do now is, so I'll take that, I'm going to duplicate those, I'm going to merge these two layers, I'm going to copy that range and paste it into the gradient, and then I'm going to come back out and I'm going to flip that gradient so that it's affecting things differently. And now if I go back to this seems to be a bit complicated, but once you get used to masks it's not too bad, right? And I'm just going to like push some of those tones around like that and just get a bit more blue into that leafy area there, right? And then I can also, so I'll merge those layers together, right? Merge layers, and you can see the difference. Now I can play with the levels of that to kind of have it stronger or whatever. Play with the opacity of the layer. Let's get rid of that. Play with the opacity of the layer, so you can see that coming through. It's a bit more bluish. Toggle it off and on, just like that, right? So that's pretty much that. Let's just, don't really need that anymore. Let's also think about if I did have some kind of light coming in here, it would be good to have some of these leaf shapes create a kind of shadow in the cat as well. So I was thinking if I duplicate the layer and I levels up, right, make it brighter and maybe more yellowish, so I'll do colorize, bring that up a bit, bring that towards yellow, saturate it. Not quite what I want, but let's just keep going with this. We'll get there. And what I'll do also is darken this image. So I've got that. I'll just copy it so that I don't lose the original. I'm just going to darken it just a fraction like that. So that way I've got this brighter layer. And I'm just going to click on the mask, add a mask, and then Control I on the mask to invert it. And I'm just going to paint with a fairly hard brush just to see how that looks. Put this smoothing down, and in theory if I was to paint, I can press X here to flip the tones, but I'm just going to want a little kind of cat silhouette here and something like that. I have no idea what I'm doing, I'm just kind of suggesting this as an idea. Right, so I do a bit of that and X to flip that way. Let's just get rid of that. Doesn't quite work as intended. Maybe if I had a bit of a noisier brush, that would work better, but I don't know. Let's try to change the mode to overlay or add. Screen, not quite having the effect. Let's bring the opacity up. So this was just an idea that I could add like a fake light coming through, but it's not working quite as well. What I would have wanted is to catch this in a brighter day with the sun coming over here and creating some sort of shadows. That would be nice. But I think it's looking a little bit more painterly now. If I just zoom out, it'll let me do it. There we go. And what I could do is just try see what it looked like with a little frame. So I'll just go to a bit there and there. I really like the leaves overhanging that fence though. I really like that fence. So I'll just crop out a bit up there by doing just a solid colour black and change the canvas size, set it to the top and change a bit of the height. Let's go 3000 to see what that takes me. That's a bit right. And then I'll just actually click that and yeah, let's copy that layer and I'll just rotate or move the mask down to a bit there. And there we go, it's kind of looking good now. It's going to merge visible and yeah, let's merge visible or put them all out, put them all in a group first, right? So I still get my working and a merge group. Right, so I've got all that and what I can do now is copy that layer and then choose blur, Gaussian blur, and bring it up a bit like that, and then change that layer to add and levels it a bit, and now add a mask, Control I on the mask and paint in where you want some bloom. So maybe there's a bit of bloom up here, so paint with white on the mask. Make sure I've got white. And maybe a little bit there. It's going to change the opacity so we don't get as much through. It's just kind of like making areas look a little bit kind of brighter and nicer in places. And then X if you want to take it away, because you're just saying yay or nay to the information on that layer. I do want a little bit of clarity with the cat. But it's still a bit realistic, still quite photo-esque. So take those two layers, group them, duplicate them, and merge group. And now I'll just copy that layer and do Control U and saturate it quite a lot. Right, and then add a mask, invert the mask, and paint in the mask where I want a little bit more saturation. Especially these little leaves here to make them pop. It's going to lift the colour a bit. And again, I'll just merge those two. I'll put them in a group, duplicate the group, and merge. And Control U, Control L. I just want to make this blue up here pop a bit more. So I've done that. Add a mask, invert the mask, and paint in white where I want that. Right, so a bit there. It's actually quite nice to sort of bring a lot of that in. Just kind of choosing bits where I want a bit more pop. And it's quite heavily saturated right now, but I think that looks pretty cool. I flip it horizontally just to see how it looks that way. Is the composition nice? Then you can always, you know, decide what's a slightly better composition for this. Something like that. You know, think of your rows of thirds. Where's this sitting kind of between? What kind of story do you want it to tell? Do you want it to be pushed aside like that? It's just this really nice bit down here that I like so much that I want to leave all of this in and have quite a lot of focus on the cat. And I like this part coming in, so it's difficult to get rid of anything. Right, there's a couple of bits that you could fix as well. Like, you could come in here and you might not like the way these leaves have this tone, so I would just basically just merge everything to that point. Merge visible. So if you did want to go back and fix bits, just make sure you save at that point, because now I'm just going to be working with the blending brush, and it will just be your regular soft round with this switched on, so you get the pen pressure making the brush smaller, and setting that fairly high and fixing up just some of the edges of anything, just refining that painterly look. Now you could spend as long as you need at this point, but that's a fairly quick way to get something to look stylized and Ghibli-like. Yeah, it does need a bit of finessing and, you know, deciding where you want to fix the details. Another thing you could add actually is an outline. So if I just duplicate that layer and go to filter, stylize, find edges, you'll get all this edge work, right? And I'll just do Control U to take all the color out of it, right? So it's more like a sketch now, which is pretty cool. You can also level adjust that to try and get rid of the whites. Is you're going to bring this clip down, and what that's doing is basically saying anything that's close to white I'm going to treat as white. So this is all close to white, right? And you're basically clipping that point where it's deciding it's going to be white. So you can kind of bring in that sort of outline, and you can also do the filter, stylize, oil paint on that just to clean up the edges a little. I'll bring it down just a fraction, and just to clean that up a bit, and then you change that layer to multiply, and it gives you some nice little wedges. And with that there, I can kind of see bits I want to fix, like maybe I want to draw some little Y's in here, so I'll just use a standard brush, I'll pick that and do some little cat eyes. Let's make that a bit darker. These sad cat eyes, and I'll put a little highlight in like that. And there you go. That's you. Made a little Ghibli style picture. Still looks like a photo to me, but if we compare the before and after, so if I save this as desktop, call it the after, and open up the original. It's still quite a high resolution image maybe, or my PC's just froze. There we go. Right, and it should be opening up that other one. Oh, that's already open, right? So open the after, close that out, and open the original. paste that there. Let's just line them up so we can see them a bit better. And there you go, there's the original photo, and there's the Ghibli style. It works quite well, I think. You can always downscale the resolution as well, so let's see what size that is. Yeah, 3648, so I'll just change that pixels. Let's just change it to bilinear filter when we reduce, and then 1920. Let's just lock that so we get the correct aspect ratio. And yeah, that's it. That's how you can get from a photograph to a Ghibli style in about 25 minutes. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it helps to get you started on stylising your work, and keep up the studies, and I'll catch you later. Bye.